Is there any more apologies? No. Someone to move the apologies. Right, Councillor Chairman and Councillor Frank. Those in favour say aye. Can I have confirmation of the last minutes with the meeting that was held on the 19th of December, please? Councillor Collins, second, Councillor Trump. So those in favour say aye.
On the 13th of March, which would have been a date for a committee meeting, if you've got that day available, I'd really like to have a workshop about planning where we can talk about the housing strategy and we can also talk about amendments to the LEP that we're looking at doing. Some of them are minor, some of them, like are a little bit more, have a bigger influence, but we're trying to improve the LEP to make it reduce where we can the need for approvals if it's not really required. So is the 13th a day that you would think about having a workshop?
On the way, unfortunately. I could probably zoom in though. I could zoom in.
Yes, zoom in. There's only a workshop, so the council.
Yeah.
You don't want to zoom in. You're
from Canada.
Okay.
Why not?
What time about it?
Now, I agree in the morning, but remember that these meetings can't make decisions. That's be a recommendation to the council meeting. And you would have access to the reports and things. So it's not really essential to have all councillors, but I think it's important if we're going to move on that we have some feedback from the elected people, because we've been working on it at the staff level for some time. But it's got to a point now where we need to start the gateway process, which is the process you start to actually put things into the LEP. And that we're trying to link into with what they're doing in that presentation as well.
I probably should ask the question and then makes having an effect on obviously existing.
No.
Because all their
Patients
I guess
are
they've already
They've already been approved.
Yeah.
And see, the big problem we had was during the drought, a lot of people started hand feeding cattle in very small paddocks, and they said they could do it under the LEP because it was an emergency drought situation. When the drought lifted, they thought, well, why can't we just keep on doing it? So we had all these situations where we had to start coming down heavily on people, especially the ones that were causing significant amenity impact to their neighbours. So it's all fun and games when that happens.
Max, I wanted to ask about the process going forward to change. Obviously, looking just doing the LEP.
Yeah.
What's that involve? Like, obviously, you're saying it was a staff level council, then got to be comfortable with it. Then it goes to state government. What's
it goes
years, 5 years, or
it's called the gateway process. There's a process set up to do it. You submit it to the state government, and they go through it, and they give you the nod, and then you put it onto public exhibition, and then the community has the opportunity to have its say, and it comes back to the council. The council can either adopt it or not. It's up to the council. Then it goes off to be gazetted, and once it's gazetted, it's in the LEP. If it's a straightforward process, like for example, if I put it to the 13th workshop, went to the council meeting on the 20th, and then when it was submitted, you would probably have been approved. The earliest would be by the end of June. So it wouldn't fit in any earlier than that.
okay, so things move fairly quickly.
But that's it. There's no issues. Like we've divided it up into different categories. The ones that we think are pretty straightforward, they're almost up to the point where they're ready to be discussed at the council. The others are a little bit more complicated and might run into a little bit more resistance or maybe further down the track. But I think those ones, it's important that we have the early discussion with the councillors. Also, the councillors probably aren't fully aware of the strategic planning framework that was adopted by the last council. Do you know about it? It's got some issues in it, which are interesting, which I know, I'm not sure whether they'd be supported by the current council or not, but I think that's something we need to talk about as well. Yeah, because obviously attitudes change with different councils. We're ready for
minutes. So we've got a presentation from the community assets team because they are unable to attend on the council induction date, so they're going to do the presentation now.
Sorry, Pops. On from the vegetation. Yeah.
I'm just passing around a sheet for everyone to look at, which lists the areas that fall within community assets, our team members and our team priority goals. So I'd like to go through our areas. It's very eclectic and they don't have big budgets like road, but we obtain a lot of external funding to provide the services and to enhance the buildings and infrastructure that we have. So if you like, the purpose of giving you this is you can see the actual areas, and if you have questions in regard to any of those as they come up, because I'll be going through those down the page, please just ask and one of the executive or I will give you more information about it. So I'd like to kick off Cranky Rock. I'd like to talk about Cranky Rock for these areas. I've sort of selected information that I think that you would be interested in. You get council reports which set out the main outline of our services and areas. So I'll just do highlights in certain areas. So Cranky Rock, we recently had a storm. We were fortunate that we only had minimal damage to structures, but it caused a lot of damage to the trees. Pulled them out, twisted them, did a lot of damage. So that's all been rectified. We actually had to close the reserve for a month. It was deemed unsafe until those works were undertaken. We've got a brand new community barbecue that's ready to install on site. We're just waiting on staff to schedule that into their program. And also we've been able to obtain funding to do an additional shelter on site. So that'll be going in before the end of June. Moving on to cleaning. So we have a group of people that are cross-trained. So they started as cleaners and they've morphed into development and training. They call themselves the A-team because they're the attendants. So you'll see them cleaning facilities, but also setting up for events, tearing down, taking people on tours, taking bookings, doing ordering. So they're a really great team that really make the council shine. Property management, so that's properties that we lease out to people and also properties that we lease. For example, we lease a residence, which is used by Liamcare under an agreement where we ensure that those facilities continue in our shire. They pay a fee and in turn we provide some services. Going on to medical centres, this is something that we have to look at again in regard to particularly the Bingra Medical Centre now that Chris Matthews has left. So I'd welcome any feedback or suggestions from you in regard to how we can go forward. But one of the benefits that we have is at each centre, we provide virtually a walk-in, walk-out practice. So we rent the facilities. It has all of the equipment there. We have a commitment to maintain the buildings and replace equipment as needed. Each medical centre each year has a budget of $10,000 to accommodate requests as they come in. We also have great accommodation, particularly in Warriata with the 2 new Kenny cottages. So I think we are, as a council, providing very good support and services to those medical centres.
Excuse me, while we're on the subject of the medical centres and you talking about Chris going, I think because we're going to have the same issues in Warriata when Diane Clem retire, I think we need to work out a plan between all the councillors. I know it might fall into our area, but we need to work out a plan how we can entice, even if it was 6 months to try and get a permanent doctor. I know everyone says, oh, the whole of Australia is trying to get, doctors. And I do know there is a place in Western Australia, speaking to the last local we had, who was advertising a house, a 4-wheel drive and $500,000 a year, and they still couldn't get a doctor. And we're not going to get money, but offer money, but somehow, if we could have a plan and say you could have the house for X amount of months until you decide, and the practice, and I just think we need to come up with some sort of plan, because we are going to have to do the same with Warriata when Diane Clem retire.
I think they've just been down to Sydney trying to get doctors.
Yeah, they have, and they have an advantage, Mick, because they're permanent, so they can have a registrar. We, Bingra, can't have a registrar because we don't have a permanent doctor. So they can get registrars that will at least come for a while because they need supervision. We can't because we don't have a permanent doctor.
I think they bought a house also.
Yeah. So I think we just need to come up with a plan. And I think doctors, yes, they earn everything they get, but they can be quite greedy, and want everything given to them. But to try and, we don't have medical services. We don't have a community, because that stops people coming in our houses. If we don't have a medical centre, we're not going to have people buying houses, staying. That's just my view.
Something we definitely need to look at.
Yeah.
So community asset staff can assist, a matter like that, it would probably be led by Max or Leah. I'm not quite sure, but if you wanted to have a meeting, you can definitely do that and invite. You're talking about a planning workshop, obviously.
What we can put out there for them.
Yeah, we could do.
Because at the moment it's run, Bingress is run by board. And we just have to say, oh, well, this is, if you want to, this is what we can give them if they can't.
And that, talking of the community board, that's where the departure of Dr. Matthews has been compounded, because not only was he a practitioner, but he was virtually leading the board, and he left quite abruptly in regard to that, as far as the other board members thought that he was going to assist a little longer. So, yeah, staff can assist, and we can do that planning if you like. Sure. So going on to a no, that's fine. That's great. Thank you. That's what I would really like. I don't know.
I just think we've got to have something. We probably won't. Well, we can't say we're not going to get any. We just have to keep trying, because we're going to reach the same problem in Warriata too.
So events, staff run events with Section 355 committees of council, including the Special Events Committee. We support community events and other Section 355 committee events. So things like the Coolatai tractor pool, the Upper Horton, I think it's like dog trials or something, like we support them with printing, that type of thing. So we reach out into the community in a lot of ways. We've been very fortunate over the last few years to have them externally funded. We've received $410,000 over the last 3 years. There is one program that we've put in an application. We're hoping to get another $100,000, and I can advise you that if we're successful. But it's something that we have enjoyed a lot of events because they've been externally funded, and I'm not quite sure going forward how much we can provide in future without that external funding. We're fortunate in Bendigo that the community and businesses support events financially, so that's something that we should probably be planning for over the next 12 to 18 months. With the Special Events Committee, it boasts 5 councillors. It is primarily about Bendigo, and it might be something that we really need to look at as to doing that type of infrastructure and planning across the whole of the Shire. In regard to communications, we've recently shown that council can deal with issues in a timely and effective manner with the PFAS water contamination. Our staff supported Alex, Andrew and Max through that issue with community newsletters, posts, just generally dealing with the Department of Health. And we'd really like to be able to continue doing that with other incidents and news happenings that come up. So that's the manager's challenge, to give us more information so we in turn can get it out to the community. In regard to native title, land claims and Crown land plans of management, I'll just touch on one aspect of that. In regard to the native title claim that's been brought, and Wyshire Council is a respondent to that court case, it's been in before the federal court for many, many years without proceeding to an actual court hearing. But as far as I'm aware, we're the only council that's taken an alternate, maybe random route, which is that we will be joining as an applicant and the native claimants will become a respondent. So what that means, and we've seen it at the coast, if you can just bear with me because it's a little complicated, but there's a native title claim for a bridge at a coastal river, and the determination was made that part of it was where native title had not been extinguished. No, sorry, that's the wrong way. Where native title had been extinguished, but then there was a grey area where there was no determination. So they couldn't find in favour of the applicant that this area had native title not extinguished. So what that means is there's a grey area that the federal government couldn't give a determination on. And what the local government has now found is that we lost land because there's no determination and they have no legal procedure to deal with that claimant. So nobody knows how to deal with that parcel of land. And unfortunately, it's actually the approach to the bridge. So every time they do roadworks, they have to gain consent. So what we're trying to do is we've been working together to list all of the essential council assets whereby it hasn't been determined if native title has been extinguished or not. And we will argue at court that these essential items, native title has been extinguished. So we get the determination in that court hearing that's been brought by the native title applicant. So we go forward with certainty and we have a determination. So have I explained that, or is it very too complicated? Anyway, what we're doing basically in a nutshell is we're being very proactive. So we get a decision out of that court case so we don't have to go into this grey area and have to continually bargain. We'll use that court case to have a decision so we can go forward. We'll know exactly where native title has been extinguished and where native title continues. So every party involved will have a determination from the court, and we can soldier on those laws or that decision, sorry, rather than having to continually barter. Okay. Will I go on to the next, or does anybody have a question? Pools. So pools, we've gone in the last season from 2 long-term licensees, being Alan Colley and Glenn Wade, to a very challenging transition where we've had a new licensee and they're running, as you know, both pools in the caravan park. So what we'll be doing going forward is we'll be advertising earlier, because the license only lasts for 12 months. That's a Crown land rule, and it will expire on the 1st of October. So we'll be advertising before the end of February, and those calls for tenders and expressions of interest to run the Bingra Caravan Park, Warrior Caravan Park, and both pools will close at the end of April. And we're hoping to attract more respondents to that so that we have more options going forward. There has been really positive things that have come through with the transition. The cleanliness of the Bingra amenities has been remarked by the public as improved, as has the water quality and cleanliness of the actual pool structures at both sites. One thing though that we've heard from the public, which we have been trying to negotiate with the licensees to no avail, is the lack of early morning swim sessions. So we've gained funding and we're looking to put in a fob system for next season, which will be like the gym. So it will only be, applicants will have to be over 18. They'll have to sign a waiver, and everybody entering and leaving the pool will be caught on camera. So we can.
Character teacher, no.
And also.
You can't use it at night, can you?
No, so it'll be available after use, but it's something that we'll have to negotiate with the community. But I can see that it'd probably be available from 6 o'clock, because the water has to be tested every day to ensure that it's ready to swim in, and that it'll probably close in the height of summer at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, but people won't be able to use the barbecue facilities, that type of thing. It'll be strictly there for people to swim.
It's only for maps and things like that.
Yeah, correct.
And so would you envisage that there would be like a lifeguard there at that time?
No, so people would say that they'd have to sign a waiver, yes, and they could access the pool at their own risk. But we've been running lifeguard courses, and we've grown the number of lifeguards within the community, particularly with the schools and community groups, so that what the licensees have at the moment is a bring your own lifeguard. So they'll make the pool available outside of hours, provided you have a lifeguard. And that's been accepted by a number of schools, but it still isn't ideal for the community.
That doesn't mean we have to be lifeguard to go and do laps.
You just have to sign a waiver.
Yeah, if we got.
Yeah, that's correct. The person that holds the fob will have responsibilities and will take the risk.
And it's a bit like with the gym, you can't just be letting anybody in.
No, so the fob holder will have access, but they can't give access to any other person.
Can we just touch on, because some of the new councillors might be aware,
Yep.
the reasoning of the new leasees was big money. Like there was, a big difference in the applicants, wasn't
Do you mean why this licensing was successful?
it?
So council had this preference to applicants that would be willing to run more than one facility. So they were the only respondent that wanted to run all three. And yes, cost was a factor. We have had in the past big companies come forward. I'm not quite sure of the company now, but they run the Moree pool. But our investigations were, yes, they were probably 3 times more than what the current licensee charges, but also they insist on their contract that if they don't have staff, they can close the pool without notice. So you have a number of incidents where when the staff is sick, they just close. They just put a sign up. So the licensees are under a commitment that the pool has to be open every day except for Christmas Day and Boxing Day.
So it's a quick one, Carmen. The fact that they've got to apply every 12 months
Yes.
because of whatever it's Crown land.
Yeah.
That might scare a few good operators away. They should really be able to go for a bit longer, shouldn't they? Like,
We're trying to change the rules there. We're negotiating to try.
well, they get options to renew or something. I don't know.
So the New South Wales government has to adopt and endorse plans of management for Crown land parcels, and what happens there is it's a very prolonged process. I think we're in our 3rd year. We're getting closer to the end. We're actually having workshops on the generic plan of management. I think it's in March coming up. But after that, when it goes on public display, that closes on the 6th of April. Then it has to go back to the government to be presented to Parliament and rubber stamped. So it's a very long drawn process. But in the conditions presented to the minister, we've said that we would like to lease, not license, lease the caravan parks and pools for at least 3 years. So until that happens, we're hamstrung. But we've been proactive in that field. It's just that every local government in New South Wales is going through the same process. So we're just in line, basically. So I've really covered caravan parks as well, only to add that the North Star Caravan Park is managed by the Vicarage Cafe owners, and it seems to be working quite well. We talk to them when they have issues, but otherwise they run their own ship, and it is very positive. And Moriata Caravan Park, the licensees there again on the 12-month period is Alan and Fiona Austin, and they are incredibly community focused and take great pride in their business, and they have added to the cabins things like new curtains, ornaments, deodorizers, everything off their own back and initiative, and they are very good to deal with. Going on to libraries, we enjoy exceptional library services. There's no such thing as a quiet library in White Shire Council. It's more a community hub and a really interactive and happy place for everyone of all ages to visit. What we're aiming there is to have a seamless transition from we don't have a date, but we know that Miss Gail Philpott will be retiring. So we've got 2 staff that are studying to become librarians so that we can continue to deliver those high services. The Roxy Complex, I just wanted to touch on one thing. From studies that were undertaken in 2013, there have been remediation works that have been identified as necessary for the Roxy, which includes renovating the front awning and the parapet that faces Maitland Street. So that's something that we are trying to get funding for. But in the meantime, and the priority was to correct the drainage for the building, because it is a very old building and we don't want a repeat of what's happened with the Bidwara Council office. So we have successfully obtained funding, and with the help of Alex's connections, we've engaged a civil engineer to undertake those works. It will have minimal impact on the actual theatre, but it'll be very good. We've been advised that after those works have been completed, to leave the building alone for at least 12 months so it can properly dry out. And then can do the remediation work, so that hopefully will marry in with funding obtained. And then the final part of that project will be painting. But unfortunately, at the moment, there's no point in painting the building until all of the works are done, because whatever we paint, it will look very aged very quickly.
And we made that heritage listed.
Yeah, it's
So
listed
thinking
with
that we could get funding and for things, and we haven't been successful, have we really, in getting what we thought we were getting?
So the problem with heritage listing is it's for strategies. So we're waiting for like a capital works funding program to come up, which has been promised for some time. But with this change in New South Wales government, those programs seem to cease. So we're hoping that they may come back. But then with everything, mostly funding programs are only for capital works, and it doesn't include that maintenance component. So we have to be very careful that whatever capital works we do, we can maintain it at minimal cost. So the drainage at the Roxy will actually cut back on our maintenance costs, because we will get that building not leaking as much, and we'll fix the guttering, that type of thing. And we'll move the water from a very big building out into a storm pit on Cunningham Street in a much more effective way. The GLR. So the GLR, when it was formed, was groundbreaking. It won national and state awards, and the GLR was made up of not only council staff, but education, like New South Wales education representatives, including the local high schools, business, community groups. And now we talk about school-based trainees and apprentices as if it's run of the mill, but in its day, the GLR really started that whole process. So we're really lucky that Byron Shire Council based 28 trainees, apprentices, and school-based trainees and apprentices, which is much higher percentage of any other council. And what happens is we use the subsidies that we get, you'll see them in your reports, to be able to fund and keep our young people within our community and upskill them. So if they want to go to university or go away and work, they have a certificate and experience on the job. Just wanted to add to the GLR that, as I said, it was formed and it was groundbreaking, and it has achieved so much. So now what the GLR, it's morphed. So basically it is now a heavy vehicle training service. It also provides learn to drive services to our youth, and it also does obviously the apprentices and trainees. We were lucky enough during the era of Pennies from Kevin that we were able to construct trade training centres. So the GLR together argued with the government and were granted the funding not only just to go onto school campuses, but onto community campus to be used by all. So we've got the automotive trade training centre, which is adjacent to the Warriata High School and used by Warriata High School and the community college to deliver courses. We're sitting in one, which is the primary trade training centre, which I'll talk about the living classroom in a minute, and the hospitality centre. Yes.
Sean and I were at the BROC meeting on Friday, and they were really impressed with our trade training centres and what we have to offer. In fact, they want us to do a presentation at the next one. But how can we get it out there? We have the facility, the kitchen facility at the back of the living classroom, which is state of the art, and it's not being used.
No, it's underutilised.
Yeah.
For sure.
How can we better that and get that out there to have, even if it's people coming once a month to do cooking courses, like Italian cooking courses or Greek tidying? How can we better utilise that rather than it just be used for balls and weddings? Yeah.
Does the community college utilise it?
No, not today.
Not really.
Not really.
They could.
I mean, we've got these great facilities, but Bingara Central School's not using it as they've got theirs, but how can we get it out there? We need to better utilise it.
So what the team has come up with and what we've been working on is to connect the Roxy, the Living Classroom and Mile Creek to become like a joint package where we can package it to students. So if I just touch, I'll come back to that. So with the New South Wales Education, they've now made the study of Mile Creek Massacre a core subject for Year 8 students. So some of you came out to Mile Creek and met friends of Mile Creek Committee, but the day before that we had over 500 people attend who were senior staff of the Catholic education system. So we've already had one school visit after that, and a school from Singleton, and they stayed here and they went out to Mile Creek. So they only stayed for 2 nights, but what we've been developing is a package to send out to all schools to show that we can be a minimum of 2, preferably 3 night excursion. So what has been happening is that we've had schools come in the past and they've been our guinea pig. We've been very fortunate to strike up an agreement with Bingara Central School. So we lend Scott as a presenter. He does a session on water, which is really knacky, and the kids just love it because it's so interactive. We use Alex Eddy, who is a zoologist who lives in Coolatai. He comes and does night.
Pretty sure.
Did I say Eddy? Oh my God, sorry. It's Dudley.
Dudley.
And Gail and her staff. And
I don't think about myself here. This is
yeah, sorry.
only a self-exploration.
And then I do a session on our scar tree, which is at the entry. So now what we've done is we've got that feedback, and they need things to be set up as all access. So that's why you'll see the infrastructure that's happening around here, so that it's better able to be used for not only functions and stayovers, but it can be used by schools. So what the package would entail, and obviously it would change on a case-by-case basis, but pizza and movie night at the Roxy, during the summer months, going to the pool, going out to Mile Creek, and schools. We showed the people from the Catholic education the kitchen, and they were interested in using that as a session so they can cook like Indigenous meals or that type of thing. So it's one of the things where Friends of Mile Creek have been very integral in having that massacre added to the curriculum. And a lot of schools will obviously just study that in the classroom, but we can see a huge potential of classroom students coming.
I just think we need to get out, not just putting it with Mile Creek, but
100%. It's definitely underutilised. And we actually, like, if somebody wants to use it, we give them a very good deal. We had one lady using it to run her business, and provided that she did all of the cleaning. So she'd spring clean, like use and spring cleaning one station, and that kept the water going and everything being used. So we're really keen. We've sent out expressions of interest, and we have the lessee show of the cafe. They were going to run courses, but nothing happened.
Can I just touch base on
Yeah.
on the Roxy kitchen?
Yes.
It needs to be better equipped with some things within the kitchen. I know that every time we hire it with the Black Dog Ball, more and more things that were there 2 years ago are missing. We're having to purchase it and leave it there.
So what happens with a lot of those equipment, particularly that you've donated, only the plates and bowls are on site, and the specialist items are held in storage so they don't go walking. And what we do instead of, because we do know, and we've actually got an article in the Wider News this month asking people to bring back what they've borrowed. So I think what happens, people in good intentions will take home the salad bowl that's half filled with salad so it's not wasted, but it doesn't get returned. So what we do to overcome that, because we've got a very limited budget, is we have a really good agreement with Vanessa Patch at the RSL Club and Margie at the Imperial, so that when those items are required, we can borrow them from there. So yes, I know that your caterer put in a letter to Max, which was answered.
And we probably should have followed up with it as well, because I know we've purchased quite a bit over the years. We put $2,000 worth of plates and wine glasses.
And all that's there. So we went through with Nikki, like an audit, and the only thing that was missing, which she said that she could have taken herself, was like a board where it sets out everybody on the tables. And there was another item that I wasn't quite sure. So yeah, so everything's accounted for. I mean, obviously you have breakages where you'll have a plate or a bowl, but yeah, everything's there. It's not on site, but in storage for that purpose. So the things that you kind of donated this time, they've all been separated again from the Trade Training Centre and put in storage off-site, so they're not lost. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, so we definitely listen, and we're definitely trying to set it up, but if we go and buy, I don't know, like another $400 or $500 worth of items, the problem is in 12 months' time, they will probably disappear again. So yeah, that's the balance that we have to look at. As I said, we don't have a budget as big as roads. I can say that's not here. Yeah, because Stanley's not here, so it's all good.
You later about the school stuff?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Don't say that you're not going to continue, though.
No, I've got some ideas.
Excellent. So I've touched on Mile Creek. We estimate that 3,000 people attend the site every quarter, so that's about 12,000 people a year. Those estimates are very conservative. And the last one that I wanted to touch on is, and again, we report this to council, but the foreshore project, and I like to throw in the cabins next door, is it's been so frustrating. Soilcon they're the contractor for that site. Through negotiations late last year in October, Soilcon placed a new project officer, their staff member, and he has been excellent to deal with. Those works that you see are temporary to try and preserve the bank over the period where water is released from Coveton Dam. But that whole area should be, fingers crossed, finished by the end of May, end of June at the latest. And next door with the cabins, we were supposed to have the high voltage supply connected. I can't even remember the date, sometime in November. But the day it was going to happen, staff went on strike. So then we were given a new date, which is the 12th of March. So I'm not promising anything. We'll just see what happens.
I think they're still striking, aren't they?
So apparently, I've been told by Essential Energy staff that the next target date for a strike is the 12th of March. And I don't understand, this is a personal thing, why you then have to wait 3 months to get back on their books. Like you'd think that they'd just start the next day, but I don't understand. So anyway, in the meantime, those cabins are supposed to be used by the building contractors' staff while they build the new office, but they've been using the Bingo Caravan Park and spilling over into our bunkhouse. So we're accommodating them, but not in the way that we had envisaged. So that's it. Does anybody have
When you have an update, like when will I suppose they're not going to tell you to the 12th of March whether they're going to strike or not.
So we email our contractor, which is Curry Power, every few weeks, and we have asked them to see like fast track, and they just report that they can't. They've been unsuccessful, and they're hoping that this 12th of March. So everything that we're doing down at the site, any contractors that are on site know of that date, so they're not impacted, so they get like a straight through run.
That's all that's to happen though, isn't it? And then they'll be right. When it's all finished, we have to just put in like little gravel driveways to the carport. They're actually redoing the carport slabs because they were deemed to be, they were put in as a subcontractor to Union Plan, and they're not up to spec. So Union Plan will have to cover those costs. And apart from that, it's just a matter of cleaning them, which I'm not cleaning the cabins until we know that we can go in there, because otherwise we would have been cleaning them every 3 months. And then they'll be open to be used. Okay, thank you. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, my contact details are down the bottom, so you can give me a call in regard to those areas. Anytime except for when the State of Origin game's on. Thanks, Carmen, for that. Now we've had those two presentations. We thought we might break for morning tea and then resume with the meeting. So we're moving on to the 8.2, which is
Calls for declaration.
calls of declaration of interest, gifts received, and conflicts of interest. Done. Very good. Additional late items.
No, well, yes.
There is
Yeah.
the mayor minute, and there was an amendment too, wasn't there? To yeah. Okay.
You need a thing to accept the well, actually, you don't need a resolution to accept the mirror, but then take the minute whenever he or she wants. And it also doesn't require a seconder. Only requires to be put in the meeting. So you don't need to do anything on the additional photo.
Okay, we've got my mayoral update. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of things. So last week, Alex and I and Matt met with Rose Jackson, the Water Minister, at Parliament to ask for some money for a new bore in Wariata. I feel that it went well. When we asked her for 500,000, she was a bit shocked. She said, "Oh, that's not much, so maybe we should have asked her for more." But anyway, I felt she was sincere, because she did say at the end, "If you've got my number and if nothing's done in a couple of weeks, please call me to hurry it along." So I don't think she would have said that if she wasn't going to come.
Actually, the contents of that Teams meeting we had yesterday, the day before,
It's not
confidential. I can provide an update. Actually, I sat in on the Teams meeting late Tuesday afternoon. There were two top bureaucrats from Department of Climate Change, Energy, Water and Environment, I think is the order of those letters, or those words. It looks very much like they're going to pay for 100% of all costs. They were talking about funding deed being signed, and then for the initial scoping works, which would then be followed up by a variation deed to pay for the drilling of the new boring ancillary infrastructure. There was no hint at all, there's no suggestion, and we even asked the question directly when there'd been expectation the council would be co-contributing to the costs. The bureaucrat said no.
They've also confirmed that they'll pay all the costs involved in if that's issue water, all that sort of stuff.
For the bottled water and so that's a positive. But I'm expecting they will want to announce that if it's anything like, Barnaby with his things, maybe not.
I very much expect that the water minister would like to make the announcement when funding is locked in.
That one.
It's not actually, we also agreed to be the lead agency in determining the scope of the plume of PFAS. And we have to do that prior to getting the final approval for a production board. So,
We were hoping that might be one of the pieces of red tape that we might be able to have an exemption from, but the scope of the testing is going to be essentially testing every private bore in Warialda for PFAS, and there's a large number of them. I think it's upwards of 50, somewhere between 50 and 60. We have them all mapped. We know where they are.
Just within town.
Just within town. And the outcome of that, we should be able to map areas of concentration of PFAS. What might come out of it that'd be really interesting will be what the source of contamination is. At the moment, we've got two bores that are contaminated, one side and the other. We might find as we test the private bores around the hospital park, we get higher levels of concentration. If we didn't, then that would be suggestive that training exercise on the old hospital park site was the source of the contamination. We have to go through that process. We then have to drill a test bore, make sure we're going to get an adequate yield from it, and that there's no PFAS in it, and it has to be a certain distance away from the plume as well. Despite the fact that we've got one active bore that's closer to the plume, there's still a 500 metre buffer that they're enforcing. I said was the one bit of bureaucracy that was frustrating in the meeting. Was there a bunch of hoops to jump through, and it's probably going to be a 12-month process, not a 12-week process like it perhaps could have been. But hey, it's a free ball.
But if there is PFAS in the private bores, what do they do?
I suppose it would be up to the owners of the bores to decide whether it was.
So there's no regulations upon them to.
The drinking water guidelines enforce. We need to enforce as a water provider to say that our water is safe to drink or it's not. I'm not sure what the EPA would have to say with respect to drawing from the bores to water gardens. When we floated the idea of using the hospital park bore as a bore that would be dedicated to, say, Nicholson Oval and the rec ground, the EPA did get a little bit funny about it, saying that we could potentially be picking up PFAS out of the aquifer here and moving it upstream, downstream, and depositing it somewhere else in the aquifer. So, short answer is I don't know. I think that it would be a strong recommendation to either not drink or that your water is safe to drink, but other uses? Not sure. Sorry.
Oh, good. Thank you for explaining. Last Friday, we hosted BROC here, which is the Border Regional Organisation of Councils. And it was held here at the Living Classroom. They came on the Friday, both Sean and I attended that. They came on the Friday and we had drinks at the river, welcoming them, and then the meeting was here on the Friday. As I said, when Carmen was speaking, they were really impressed with the whole of the Shire, so which was a positive, but especially the Living Classroom and what we have to offer. And they've asked for us to do a presentation up for the next BROC meeting. While we're on that, I know we had to change next month's meeting, and I'm sorry about that, but both Max and I have to attend the country mayors in Sydney. Unfortunately, when we set the meetings, we weren't given all these dates of upcoming things like country mayors and BROC and that, but hopefully they've all come through now. Now, the next BROC meeting is on the 11th, of April. We have, and it's a long way away, Thargomindah. We had a budget workshop on the 10th of April. Would it affect anyone if we moved that on the 10th of April to allow Sean and I to attend the next BROC meeting? Would it cause any issues with anyone?
To what week before?
I don't know. That's something we have.
Probably not after, or just like a day or two before that Thursday would be fine, or the week after. We're going to be short on time getting a good document to you guys, especially as it's your first budget workshop. We want to have everything nice and
So like the week.
Would it, or going a couple of days before, a Tuesday or a Wednesday or something like that, would it affect anybody?
If it's in the morning, that's fine.
I'm just set one night, it can't work around me, so if I'm here, if not, I'm not.
Okay.
I just need to know as much in advance.
Yeah, well, that's where February, so that's April, so yeah.
if we go a week later, that would be Easter Thursday, I think.
So
Which
That's the-
perhaps doesn't.
that's the Thursday before Easter. That's crazy.
So
Like,
talk about
you made it a
the
Tuesday.
Isn't it Easter late?
Yeah,
Do it.
it's the 21st.
What about Tuesday?
That's what we discussed the other
Yeah,
day.
Tuesday.
Tuesday after, give it a bit more time to get a proper
So
document.
the Tuesday, the 15th. You won't be here. What about the Tuesday, the 8th? Does that suit everyone? The Tuesday, the 8th of April?
Yeah, 2 days early is fine, a whole week early is fine. Making things a bit tricky.
Take that 20 minutes. Oh, no?
If you've got also any particular things that you would like to perhaps see in the budget, can't promise that we can fit it in, but if you do, can you please let me know? Or make a time when you come in and talk to the executive, because something may already be in there to start with, but it certainly would give us an indication of the sorts of things you'd like to see in the budget.
Or specific areas you want to drill right down into it too, because the document you get,
Is it a high
it's
level?
at a relatively high level, because where it is now, it's about 14 pages long. To go down to the next level, it goes to about 8 pages long. So, and some things, there's not much we can do about some of the costings and stuff, but if there's specific areas and you want to be able to nut down everything, then let me know and I can pull those out separately and give you a much more detail.
And as an executive, we're meeting with each of the managers and we're going through line by line their budget requests, which is the first time we've done that as a group. So we should be across most things. Should you have any questions for any of us? If not, we can take on notice for budget.
What do we decide on?
Tuesday, the 8th. Does that suit you, Ben?
8th of April. That's fine. The only thing I ask, like the meeting next month, it gets recorded in the minutes. I'm not attending because of the change of the original date. Because people do look at it. I know people that look at the dates of how many meetings people attended. That was brought up to me before I stood at the council, that they'd looked at how many meetings certain people had attended. So if it can be written in the minutes that I didn't attend because the original date had been changed.
Yep, no worries at all. Easy. The other thing was I was asked to attend a community meeting and Nick was also asked to attend, but he was in Walgett at Gravesend last week about lack of Telstra service in Gravesend, but it's an issue with the whole shire. We did have a presentation from Michael Moran. Was it Ian? Ian somebody.
Ian George.
Ian George at the BROC meeting. I can honestly say I felt you felt the same way. It was pretty useless. They were pretty useless, weren't they? Yeah, they tried to tell us that you didn't, like when I brought up about the bars, on the phones, and they said, don't take any notice of those, they meant nothing. But we sort of know otherwise, don't we? Like, if there's no bars, you can't bring out. But they didn't really have any answers. I did speak about Gravesend having a continued time without service, and they promised they'd email me, look into it and email me. Today, I still haven't received an email from them. I spoke to them about the battery backup at Bingra when there's a power outage. They told me they would get back to me on that, and I haven't heard anything back about that. And they didn't stick around for questions afterwards. They disappeared. So I think Mick was going to invite them to a meeting, try and get Michael to come to a few community meetings.
I've had them do a few things just in the work capacity, but they're much the same. They'll leave the room quickly, except at Moree, they stayed around for probably 2 hours and spoke to people and took notes and got back to them. But
I mean, fundamentally, the network's just being overloaded with too much.
Yes, exactly.
That's because it's the same in Sydney. I was there on the weekend.
I think the biggest concern is that some people got great coverage in 3G and were promised that 4G would fix it up, and it hasn't. It's got to the point now where there's 000 calls that are dropping out, and I know of 2 farmers where that's happened. One is local, the other one was a Gunnedah, which resulted in a death. So it's only a matter of time till that continues to happen or happens again in our area.
But why they turned 3G off? Have they told us that?
To concentrate the width and better quality width. And
If you had 5G, that compensated for the loss of 3G. 4G doesn't. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And needs to be negative.
to compensate for the new technology that we have, supposedly, because 3G didn't do it.
My understanding, and don't quote me on it, what will happen, what was supposed to happen is they reach 3G and package it into the 5G band. So when you had a 5G tower, you probably get that extra bit of range because that would be technically the 3G band packaged as 5G. And we don't have a 5G tower around here, so we don't have the bandwidth, that lower band to be able to reach further.
Need more 5G, but they're not going to build any more towers. It's not going to happen.
Can't they just put them on the one that's there?
They do plan on upgrading.
What was the time frame to go? By the end of 25.
Right, something like
Good
that.
luck.
Yeah.
They have black spot programs, and we as a council can push our argument in the black spot program. We've been successful through New South Wales Farmers and getting a few up there. So as a council, we can put in a submission why we have an argument for a black spot program. I know there's lots of people up north side Proper Creek that see towers can't actually use them. And I mean, one bloke I know of Wendy's house, you can actually see the tower only hundreds of metres away, but can't get any access to it.
Well, Gravesend was saying they walked out and stood near the tower and they still had no service.
And you've got the Bingra tower, which, I mean, goes out. If they gave us a key and a generator, someone could actually go up there and turn it on and make it work, but they won't do that.
It's meant to have batteries in it that last 8 hours, so they told us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be that the state looked after the emergency services tower and the feds looked after telecommunication. I think that's still the case. So
I also had a call from Barnaby's office, wanted to touch base on it, and she said, "Oh, we've got an election coming up," so I thought we'd touch base. And I actually said to her, "Are you only doing this?" Because I wrote to Barnaby 3 weeks for that about the Telstra issues, about the other 3 members of the Petrus family, and about the PFAS, and they acknowledged the email but never got back to me, which I did tell Heidi. But since then, the other thing is Gravesend, and I have them to put in the shops, have made a petition to go off to Telstra and Barnaby's office. So I've got to put that. I've got that printed off come and print it off for me, and I'll put that in the businesses here. Sean's taken it to put it,
Probably Millstone,
so it'll go up there too.
my name's on it, so.
I actually attended that Brock meeting and got a fair bit out of it, but the thing that was most clear to me on leaving that meeting is that we need to be different to every other council that's sitting in the room whinging at them about no coverage. We need to use a black spot program initiative, but probably even go further and research what we need as a LGA and go to them with a proposal. Whether it's Telstra or Optus, and Optus seem to be stepping up to the plate. Justin and I and the executive had a couple of chats since then about how we can go to them with a plan, perhaps, if it's affordable, looking at what we need and how we can cost it. So in an attempt to get them to use us as the pilot, perhaps, I think that's the way forward. Otherwise, we're going to be like every other council in Queensland and New South Wales, just not whinging, that's not the right word, but complaining, and they'll put us at the bottom of the list. But if we go to them in a proactive way, which I think we certainly can, Justin's already started looking at, for instance, Telstra showing a map that they cover 95%, Justin, wasn't it?
Something like that, but it's, yeah, I'd like to start the dispute, what's on that map.
Is covered by their service, which is rubbish. So we're starting there. But as a council, I think we could probably take the lead and flip it and go to them with a proposal and say, hey, use us as a pilot. We're willing to do whatever.
We build our own town.
Well, I think it's a possibility. Or
Right, stuff.
there was always conversation back in the day where the infrastructure was similar, like the towers that the Essential Energy using those towers for our council communication. So why couldn't we have some partnership? I know we're dealing with a lot of big departments, but I think it would be the most proactive way.
A group of councils down south that actually run their own telecommunications. They just got together because they were sick of Telstra.
Well, we talk, our vision is to be leader in local government. This is one thing we can jump on.
And it's pretty important because, we were talking before about losing doctors. The alternative that's going to happen there is telehealth. Without 5G, telehealth's useless.
Mm.
And that's what we're going to be relying on, I think. As much as we'd like to think we're going to have doctors, it's unlikely.
Sorry.
Also, if we're, as a council, serious about economic development, one of the foundation building blocks of industry is communication. So if we can take the lead and have something in place that we can talk, we've got great, other than the PFAS plume that I've learned about this week, we have great water, we have space. If we can say our technology, our communications tech is great too, I think it's going to put us ahead of so many others, but we just don't know we know where to start. We're starting as an executive team to pull something together. So we're great and to support in that.
Because we have an ageing population, and then now there are a lot of people who don't have house phones because they're not fixing house phones or landline phones, whatever you like to call them. So a lot of people have the mobile phones. So that's also, and it also affects businesses because businesses have no FCOS when this happens. Like Gravesend store, did they say? I think they said they had no phones for a week, and they've actually, and people have got the expense of having an Optus phone and a Telstra phone, and they're using whichever one works. So that's another expense. And I know in Bingara we had no FCOS for a whole week, on and off.
I think that while the idea of potentially throwing council money towards a telco or towards a telco solution is a fairly unpalatable one. I think if we were to approach Telstra and say that we were willing to work with them in some capacity and demonstrate we've got some skin in the game, and it might just need to be a very small amount of skin, they're going to view us a lot better than they are. Somebody just, like all the other councillors that were mentioned, screaming at them saying improve your service. I don't think they've got a statutory obligation to provide us with any level of service. We have low population, so there's not the users on the towers that other areas are getting. And when it was first floated, I was sort of, I don't think it's a great idea, but I think it is a great idea. to put a bit of skin in the game. And if I was sitting at Telstra, oh, there's a shire here that wants to help themselves, I would help them.
Yeah, I think people are always going to respond better to a solution than just complaining about the problem.
And it's certainly not the two guys that stood in front of us the other day at the Brock meeting we need to talk to. Once we've got something packaged, we go straight to the top if we can, because the two, they're every bit a figurehead for their organisation. They're Temple coded, they know what to say, and they know when to get out of an uncomfortable room.
Yeah.
I'd run from Kennerfield too, just saying. But
Yeah. The other thing is just I congratulated all the winners of the Australia Day Awards, and just on the ATEC family, most of the family secured permanent visa, but there's the 3 older boys who are over 18, and I've just got a message from Petrus. They didn't receive permanent visa, and they're now being asked to leave, which Barnaby was aware of, and he told us to leave it and he would work on it. But they also had some strikes against them, which wasn't in their favour. So we'll work on that. I don't know how the best way to go about that is, and it comes down to the strikes. Okay, so next, we don't have to move things.
Well, you've got to have for a vote. I might not want to see.
Oh, is everyone in favour of my Merrill minute?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we move on to 8.2, which is on page 6.
8.1.
Sorry. We move on to 8.1, which is on page 4.
So you need to let me know which items you want withdrawn for discussion.
8.3.
It's listed there, but it's in the back.
The original, yeah, that was, I did that before. That was one. Thoughts, Joe? Want to talk about?
Yeah, I'd like to add to it if we can. Talk about it.
8.9.
Anything else?
We're adopting the resolutions in 8.2, 8.4, 8.6, 8.7, 8.8, 8.10, and 8.11, and 8.12. Can I suggest we do withdraw 8.12 because it's a fairly important report. This is the review of the budgets.
Yeah, actually, I have a question about it.
Any call for a removal of
Seconded, Councillor Bishop and Councillor Conlon. Those in favour say aye.
next item is 8.4.
So we're moving on to 8.3. Is on page 29. Organisation and Community Services Report, and this is read by Leah Daly.
I'm happy to go through the whole report, but I expect that the area of most interest is our children's services section. I've asked Susie Weber to come today to answer any questions that the council may have on her part of the report. But if you have any other questions on any other area, I'm happy to chat about that now. Good news is we got another 400,000 for the development at Nauru because of changes in the cost of building. And the department, which is a very unusual thing to happen, have given us another 400,000 towards our development up there that will be finished in March this year. Will make a huge difference to the building.
That's should be Sharon Bacon should be commended on that, because not often you are 400,000 short and you ask for it and you get it.
For sure. We're looking for more volunteer drivers at the CHFP programs, both in Binga and Warrialda. So if you know somebody that might be interested in doing that, please make them aware. And I imagine we have some questions around social services. So I invite Susie to come and sit in.
Just quickly, sorry, Leah, I was querying the children program. It says that it was that Willoughby withdrew funding, and I was just wondering if there was anything that could be.
Susie, tutoring program for Willoughby, they withdrew funding.
Oh, yes, they decided that they didn't fund that anymore. So we're talking to Rebecca to keep that program going.
Is that the one for the office staff, so that you were doing a bit of a?
No.
This is a tutoring program.
No.
It's a children for young people. So it's by young people, for young people, and through Macquarie.
Right.
The staff exchange is what
That was the one I was.
that is going to happen. It's very exciting, and we're looking at the first trial will be with our trainee planners, and they will also provide a mentorship program for our planning cadets. So that will be our first step with Willoughby.
Any time frame on it? Sure.
We've just got to get the legal stuff sorted. So we've developed an application form, for want of another word, and just looking for accommodation. So in the next couple of months, there will be something happening there.
Yes.
Yes. So if Susie's here to answer any questions, and I will preempt that you would like to talk about the long day camp. Do you want to talk about where we are and how we got there, Susie?
Sure. So we're looking at having long day, it's not daycare, it's just daycare at this point in time, available on a 5-day fortnight turnaround, 2 days in Warrior, 2 days in Bingra, and 1 day rotational. It will run from 8 to 4 during school terms. As I'm able to find more staff, we will then look at extending that. I'm licensed 4 or 5 days a week in both towns, but I don't have the capacity to do that at this stage. So we wanted to start at that point and make that available to families as soon as possible, hoping to start on the 3rd of March, which is not.
Have you had a lot of applicants?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. Emma's just putting all of that together at the moment, and we will contact all of those families. There's over 30 families that are interested. That's from within wider and a few from without. Obviously, our wider families will be catered to first and foremost. And if there are additional places available, then we'll make it available to other people. We have people that travel through. So there's one woman that's coming from Inverell, travelling through Warrialda to work at Crop Creek. So it's kind of in our side, but not. So we will try to accommodate her if those places are available. We can start with 16 children initially with 4 staff.
And do you have the staff already?
Yes. We'll be doing training next week. And then from there, we're looking to get going on Monday, the 3rd of March.
So same staff will go to
Yes.
camps.
Correct. Yep. Continuity of care is really important with little people, making sure that they have some people. So wherever possible, we do that across all of our children's services. I prefer to employ people full-time to part-time. Sometimes that doesn't happen because some of our staff have children themselves, and they can't do full-time.
And in terms of staffing, what are you still looking for?
Early childhood educators.
But in terms like full-time, part-time hours, days.
Anything people has enough people that time to be able to accommodate.
and expand accordingly.
Yeah. We've just interviewed, sorry, John, we've just interviewed 4 trainees, and from that we have been given approval to appoint 2 new full-time trainees at Bingle Preschool. There's another trainee who is interested and we will possibly interview next week. So we may have 3 full-time trainees and 3 school-based trainees, which we're doing because the government are paying their wages to a point at the moment, which is fantastic, which means that we're not out of pocket too much. But it's also giving us some staff to possibly move forward and move around into our different services. So the 2 daycare services will be run through Tharrawonga Mobile Resource Unit, which means we can do it in an out of scope situation, which means we don't have to have tiny toilets and all the other requirements of a centre-based long daycare. We're able to do it as a mobile service, which makes it a lot more achievable. We spoke with Warialda Preschool about the possibility of little kindy coming in and doing a full long daycare preschool service through Warialda Preschool, and they chose not to take that option, which was why I followed through with what we're doing with Tharrawonga. After that, little kindy's interest in Watershire dropped off somewhat, and I didn't hear back from them. I can't say that I chased them either, so I am sorry if that was meant to happen. I have been given information about their services that I personally feel uncomfortable with, and so I didn't follow through with that particular request, but have opted for this option, which we can build. And
This is looking good. We've got something. So this is looking good. And John has.
Yeah, could I just say, I know you've said 2 days here, 2 days Warrior, and a day that floats. Wouldn't you just be better off, I don't know if that's political, you're doing that, just leaving the 3rd day in Warrior or Bigler, it doesn't matter. Wouldn't that be a bit better for mums? They know they've got 3 in one and 2 in the other. I just thought that if it was set and forget, at least they know.
It's 3 days 1 week and 2 days the next.
To eliminate confusion.
Hmm?
To eliminate confusion, Tina. Yeah.
after speaking to families, they were really happy with that turnaround. Some will use both. Some will only use one every 2nd week. Some will use that.
And Fridays at the preschool?
Oh, yes. And Fridays, we will be opening Bingle Preschool on a Friday, so that for families that have small little babies at daycare will have care for their 3, 4 and 5-year-olds.
Is Warrialda Primary School still going to operate a before a preschool?
As far as I know. Yep.
What impact do you think that'll have on the Warrialda?
Huge impact on Warialda Preschool. I think they will lose 90% of their funding and they will struggle. At that point in time, I would say that we could actually then talk to them about becoming long daycare under council's auspice.
The council actually owns that building that they operate out of. It's an independent committee, council of elected.
So that would be a conversation to have when that time comes. They've still got to build something, and I think it's 2026 they're talking about it. But if that does happen, that will have a huge impact on Warialda Preschool.
So it might provide an opportunity for long daycare if we're poised and ready to go. Because there will be a real
service approval, so we could actually just change the address.
Transition. So the venue for Warrior Is that at the toilet?
Library, West Library would be great.
What will happen to the people that come and use the toilet room?
So the toy library will operate on, I just have to get my days right, Thursday and Friday, and every second Wednesday, or every Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Every second Wednesday, playgroup will happen in the library rather than in the toy library. So it will still be a shared space, which is how mobiles work. We go and use somewhere else and set up. We just happen to be able to leave things set up in those spaces. So toy library and playgroup will still operate. Yep.
Thank you, Sue. Any more questions?
The community college, do they do any courses that would help attract people to? Is it, what about the aids? Are there aids in childcare?
Early childhood educators, so Cert 3 is a minimum requirement.
Yeah.
And we prefer to use the International Childcare College because they do a really good training package. But they can do it through TAFE, they can do it through peak training. There's any number of training providers. Community college have done it in the past, but I'm not sure that it's still on their scope.
I remember when I first came in, they had it. Like this one.
Yes.
Council actually sponsored an educators course, and how many people dropped out? Susie, well over 80%. It's no great start. Which was quite disappointing. The council paid for that. But growing our own in this work, well, the working in the environment is the answer, I think.
Providing traineeships, I think, is the answer because it's a hard course. It's actually really difficult, and the early childhood landscape is very different now to what it was. And there's a lot more emphasis on administration and paperwork and making sure that we are documenting everything that happens for every child and providing that documentation to families and to the department. So the requirements of an early childhood educator are a lot more intense than they were. It's not just looking after children. It's actually course they have to do.
Warialda preschool being more independent, is there much of an opportunity for Warialda kids to have a school-based traineeship there or not?
I think
They do.
they do. I'm pretty sure they want it.
Yeah.
One of the educators that I've just hired for the daycare did her traineeship at Warialda.
Okay.
Yeah, they've nearly always had somebody.
Yeah, that's good.
They don't have the capacity to do the number that we do.
You wouldn't be able to take on any more with Tharawinga with this.
It's not a great platform for trainees because of the nature, because it's moving every day.
I just mean more so with the new program of the
Oh, absolutely. Once I've got those stuff filtered and I know a little bit more about them and their capabilities, then trainees that we have at Bingra Preschool, which is huge, we will then be able to, sort of pass them around into different areas for them to get different experience. They'll have to do practical experience with babies. So they will spend, quite a bit of time in those services as well. But it's really good to have a service like Bingra Preschool that can give that really strong support to trainees when they're learning, just to make sure they've got everything they need and that they understand the requirements of the role and what's expected of them, and then we can sort of get them out into other things that have quite as much capacity to do that training.
And more of an opportunity for Warialda kids to come on board with it.
Absolutely. That's great. We've got 2, 3, 4 people from Warialda doing traineeships at Bingra Preschool.
Oh, okay.
So they're not just Bingra people.
Yeah. Very good.
I'd say congratulations, because this has been a great achievement, something that everybody's wanted for a long, long time. We've all had kids and had terrible trouble with daycare, so thank you for your hard work.
Easy to work with. Yeah, there's been a lot of requirements.
It's not an easy thing, like,
Hasn't been, but it's great. But
yeah.
To start, and fingers crossed, everything will go well. We'll get up and running, and then we'll just keep expanding. Eventually, we will do school holidays as well. We won't be doing before or after school for older children. That funding sits with Warialda Primary School. I don't know what they're doing with that, but that's their. They were given that funding, so we no longer have the capacity or funds to make it for after school or vacation care anymore, which is kind of sad.
It also makes it look a lot more inviting to both ends of the Shire when people are moving here, that if we've got long day care.
We've had families that have been going to Inverell for care for their kids so that they could then come back and work here.
I know, well, there's a girl that actually works for White Shire, and she was going to take her little fella to Barra for care and then drive back and come back to work at Warialda. So that's a big, go to Barra, drop him off, and then come back and work in Warialda. So this will be a plus.
I'm conscious of the time, so if you don't have any more, if you don't have any more questions for Susie, I just need to apologise. Something happens with Susie's report, so the formatting, when we look at it on the screen, it looks perfect, and then when it prints, it gets all distorted. So we will fix that for next year, something with the images, so that won't be. It's all over the place. But the last thing I'll point your attention to are the customer service requests, which I'm sure as councillors you're very interested in. And this document here, I can't stress to you enough the importance of a monthly report on our operational plan. So they're the things that you said, you didn't actually, or us council said that they were going to do in this financial year. And this is how we're tracking with those. That's it for me.
Leah, I have a mover and a seconder for that report, please. I'll move. Councillor Plump and Councillor Christian. Those in favour say aye. We'll move on to 8.5, which is on page 89. Which is the subdivision guidelines. And I'll ask Max to speak on this.
Well, the student of the first one withdrew it, noticed that there was a incomplete sentence in one of the attachment. I thought, that should have read over to the next, the someone putting the paragraph on its own, it's created another number of it. You just obviously wanted to clarify, maybe there was something seen that did come on error. Yeah.
I think so. Well done,
I thought someone else might have picked up on that one too. I thought someone else might have picked up on that.
Oh, I don't told me.
It's just on page 93 of the agenda. Point 4, which developers can also be required to conform to the requirements of the Department of Planning and Housing. It's well picked up.
Is there any more questions on that?
Well, what's the council's policy on solar if people want to go stand alone these days? So you're saying there that divisions have to have power cabling?
Yes. We have people that can go that can stand alone if they want to do that.
Yeah.
They can do. But if we believe they need power, if you're not going to stand alone, they're approved they can access it. Yeah.
Questions on? Could I have a mover and a seconder on that, please? Councillor Coleman, Councillor Bishkin, those in favour say aye. We'll move on to 8.9 on page 121, draft keeping of animals policy, additional information.
Okay.
121.
Yeah, I have a question about animals.
You should ask the zoologist.
No, horses. I know they don't like horses being kept in town, but what's the view or policy? Sometimes people might just be keeping them there for pony club or they're going to an event or something. How does that sort of fit into this? Does that just muddy the waters?
Well, if there's the reason that we used the term that we did that caused some concern about the wording was because we do exercise discretion. If an animal isn't causing a problem, then we're not worried about it.
Yeah.
But if a neighbour brings forward a complaint, then we have to investigate it.
Yes.
If we believe it's not causing a problem, that the person's been unreasonable, then we won't take any action. But if there is some legitimacy, then we will take action. Like just driving here today, I don't know if you saw in the Catholic Church, I noticed there was a whole herd of sheep.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the gates were open. I mean, well, that's significant.
No, they're for shepherd my flock.
Activities. I was wondering if he's having trouble waking up.
I don't know.
Obviously, a significant number of animals in an urban area can cause a problem. So, we don't look for fights with the animals, but sometimes we get brought into a fight.
Yes. No, fair enough.
People with roosters like waking,
Oh, yeah.
no roosters at all because there's nothing wrong with roosters. No, I know.
They're right. They're right.
829 on dogs on the last point. The last fortnight, I've had above average complaints about barking dogs. Actually, it's only one a month, but it's a few this month. What do we do about it?
Well, if someone complains to you about barking dogs, you should refer them on to the council because what we have to do there, to comply with the legislation, is they have to start keeping a diary.
That's what they told me. Yeah, that was a response. Keep a diary.
Or if they don't keep a diary, they can't. They haven't got any contemporaneous evidence that it's causing the problem. But we had a case. I'm not sure if it was a finger or Warrior, but yesterday or the day before, a dog bit a person, ran out of the yard and bit a person. Now, my inclination is that perhaps dog should be declared a dangerous dog. But I was told, well, it wasn't really a bad bite. Well, I reckon the bite's a bite.
Yeah, it was only by accident that it wasn't a bad night, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. Right.
Next one will be.
Oh.
The next one could be a bad one.
I mean, animals do cause us a lot of trouble. So they cause councillors a lot of trouble.
What happens after the diary? Do they keep it for a month or a year or?
No, they have to keep it for, I think it's a period of maybe a month. and then sometimes people realise it's not as bad as what they think it is.
Yeah.
They look at their diary. But we need to have some evidence before we can open up proper dialogue with the owners. And we work with the owners to take remedial action, like that can include putting things around the dog's neck so that every time they bark, they get a citronella spray, which modifies the dog's behaviour. It's good. Generally speaking, in my opinion, what happens is if there are disputes between neighbours, everything becomes an issue.
Exactly.
And the dogs become an issue. The kids walking diagonally across my front lawn rather than walking around the corner. Yeah, everything. And they try to drag us in into the issue.
I think these cases are rental, so people have moved into the house and rented it and they've got dogs.
Yeah.
Good diary kept on Facebook notice board because you hear about everybody's barking dog from there.
Just sort of Facebook.
I think also remind them that it's a good way of keeping peace away.
Probably safer.
Unless it's every hour on the hour.
Yeah.
Anyway, they can keep a diary.
They should liaise with their ratings.
They did, yeah, they were told to keep a diary. They just didn't tell me how long. That's all.
Find that out, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll pass it
I
on.
don't think it's an onerous one. I thought it do it for 3 months. It's sufficiently long enough that we can have an indication that it is a problem and the timing is an issue. Like if someone is home during the day and it's during the day, that's less of a problem, I think, than at night. You know, when you're trying to sleep.
Any more questions on that one? Can I have a read and a seconder, please? Councillor Sherman and Councillor Crichton. All that, those in favour say aye. So now we'll move on to 8.2, the quarterly financial. 8.12, sorry, I said 8.2, I mean 8.12. Page 141, the quarterly financial report. I'll hand over to Helen for that.
So this quarterly review does show an improvement on our bottom line expected at the end of the financial year, which quarterly review so far has done the same. The biggest changes we've got is the Gravesend Water project that was supposed to happen this year has been delayed until next financial year. And Alex has had to make adjustments in his roads budget for projects that he will and won't get completed in line with the funding that he's got. I can take any questions if you have any. They're about the only major things that have changed. The rest is all in line with what all the managers believe they will have achieved by the end of the financial year.
So expenditures are sort of round about half, but not necessarily depending on how things are spent.
Yes. And everything's with timing as well. We had significant revenue adjustments because we had a lot of steel recycled that generated good income for us.
Landfill.
Yeah, they would have come from all the different landfills. I assume we stockpile it and then
We do.
have it go in bulk. So. We do, the managers are very conscientious every quarter to ensure that what they're doing isn't going to have a negative impact on council. So, and as you'll see with our budgeting process, it's very tricky when, so currently next year budgets are open for all of the managers to complete. So they are trying to predict what they're going to be doing for the next 12 months. It doesn't start for another 5 months. So the reviews are important, and the issues we've got with funding and stuff make it even trickier. Because Alex, is it $11 million you've got in flood damage stuff that you haven't been approved for? So that will have a significant impact on what works are getting worked on if and when the approval comes through for that flood damage. But that's died off, hasn't it, the flood damage repair?
Yeah, it has. Since I didn't get my report, I might just use this as a time road. We've got, I think, it's 8 or 12 separate claims lodged with Transport for New South Wales. These are not claims to be reimbursed for expenditure. These are claims to get the approval to start spending money from the state and the feds coffers. Some of those have been in place since August or September of last year and haven't been approved. Some of them are in high-profile areas that are causing serious problems. We've got large causeway on Planty Gap Road, down Lights Forever, portions of Elcombe Road. We've got a great causeway on the Crockmoree Road that the locals are calling our skate park. They're becoming pressing issues. They are classified as essential public asset restorations. And, you know, I stress the essential part of it. We're probably going to have to move to the point of putting political pressure on people via Brendan Moylan and Mark Colton and Barnaby Joyce to get these things approved. Their assessors are just going silly approving stuff in the Northern Rivers, and I understand that's important because they've got a lot more damage than we had, but it doesn't mean that damage is important. If we're around there.
Any more questions? Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Collins and Councillor Bishop, those in favour say aye. Now we're moving on to 8.13, which is on page 152, the National General Assembly motion, which is the
what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that's wonderful. And I was just wondering whether, and it might not be appropriate, but whether we could add to the motion, not that particular motion, but add another motion to the National General Assembly. We're often talking about how the one-size-fits-all approach with the level of funding that we get is not fair. Would it be appropriate to put a submission about that to the local government assembly, just in terms of, can we shine a little bit of a light on the fact that Alex talks about roads in other shires compared to ours, and that's not the only thing, roads is not the only thing, but would it be an opportunity to shine a bit of a light on wider shires and the fact that funding just isn't a one-size-fits-all model?
Yeah, this is the appropriate time to pass a resolution so I can put a motion forward. I probably need a little bit more sort of flesh on the bones.
Well, sorry, I've got that information that I shared with them before about the roads and the funding compared to, we could use that as an example.
May I suggest two things? One is that the population factor in Roads to Recovery and Financial Assistance Grant is diminished or eliminated. And the second bit of bonus you could add to it if you wanted would be the one-size-fits-all approach of IPNR.
Yes.
IPNR?
Integrated Planning and Reporting.
That's a state issue.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But on the part of the problem here is that when the federal government gives money, they're bound by certain rules. So, for example, they have to give the same amount of money to every local government authority based on some criteria. In the case of Roads to Recovery, for example, it's based on the length of roads. But what we found when we were doing the New South Wales Audit Office did a review of us and 200 councils, that even though we had similar road length to Clarence Valley,
identical local road length,
yeah, there was actually a significant difference in the amount of money that was received.
I think that was the point.
That is the point. That was exactly that. Remember, it was Clarence.
I'd like to understand exactly how that, because we noticed it, but we didn't really ever fully get in and try to understand it.
So is it based on a combination of length of road?
Population. So that's not a race.
So we then ask that productivity be included in that.
Yeah. If you're happy to leave it with Alex and I to try to come up with some wording which we'll send around to you, and just get back to me if you don't think it's encapsulated what you would like to see.
I think there's an opportunity in that we may have a new government by the time we go to Canberra in June as well. So
the financial assistance grant absolutely has a population factor in it.
Yes, well, yes, it does, and it also has disability factors as well. Right. So, but the real problem with the financial assistance grant is that there's a minimum amount of the grant that has to go to every council, and and then it's divided up by population. So the black towns of the world with 500,000 residents always given. And they don't need it.
Have there ever been motions to the effect of, with your indulgence, Madam Mayor, councils, moving motions that, other councils that don't need financial assistance don't get financial assistance? In the black towns of the world, I mean, certainly.
Those motions get moved at every
Right.
ALGA General Assembly.
And ignored it, everyone.
Well, you can imagine Brisbane City Council, for example, aren't too supportive of it.
Yeah.
But we'll try to
I've got
put something in.
a thing here, Simon. I'll find it and forward it on to you about the.
And I'll include it, it'll come out in the minutes as being another motion, so it's very important that you read the minutes and go to that 8 point or whatever it is.
Just to add on to it as well, and it's a bit of a bugbear that I've spoken to Leah about it before, but the opportunity that Blacktown has, or Clarence Valley has, is paid parking and development.
Yes.
We don't have, and we don't have that yet. We don't, it's not reflected in our funding. It is.
What was the amount that Willoughby cited that they could get from a billboard back? It was
It's
phenomenal.
well over $1 million.
Yeah, just the one with billboard in the LGA, and they get.
Along the highway.
I don't think people would pay $1 million to put a billboard.
Well, no, but still.
We could make some money.
Was it Wallaby Council though, Max, that had the contract to have that land that they sold for significant money? But the building wasn't built by a certain date, the land reverted back to the original landowners, and they didn't, so they sold the land, got the money for the sale, then got the land back as well to resell. So,
Weren't they also able to sell the airspace above some council thing? Just insane, but it isn't fair, and it is.
No, it's not. For us to be able to be, sustainable into the future, we need to be looking at things like this. And I just wonder if this is the appropriate way to do it.
Just more emphasis on productivity. They might have population, they still have to eat, don't they? Population.
Yeah, a good example of the way that they do cost benefit analysis. Has anyone been to Sydney recently and seen the work they're doing on the Sydney Harbour Bridge? Just to make it completely impossible to get into Sydney. But when they finished that work, I remember reading somewhere it was going to improve drivers' time by 5 minutes. But you multiply hundreds of thousands, probably millions of cars over, a lifetime of extra 5 minutes. And that's an enormous cost benefit, a positive cost benefit. That's what we were competing against out here. Whereas we've been successful, well, I think the Australian Rural Roads Group was successful in getting productivity as one of the measures now. That's why we're getting all the money we're getting, including that IB Moore Road recently. Lucky Road, sorry. Yeah. Oh, we got IB Moore Road as well. But it's really fighting an uphill battle because we are small.
How long did that take, the process for Bucky Road?
Well, if you take it from when we started with the Australian Rural Roads Group, it was an overnight success over 10 years.
Yeah.
But actually, Leah was suggesting at the senior executive meeting, maybe we need to try to get the rural and regional councils together again for communications. Because we've got the same problems as everywhere else, but they rely on us not being together and fighting it together. And unfortunately, our local association, local government association, is tends to more reflect the city than it does the country.
Just forward you on that information that Alex sent me too about the roads in Clarence Valley and housing. Add that to it. Any more questions on that when we go to Canberra? Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Finn and Councillor Crump. Those in favour say aye.
Well,
That's
that's mine and the Garissa campus.
yes.
It is important. I don't know if you've all, I'm sure you have. Sean, but Arisia cactus is potentially going to be one of the worst weeds that we've seen. There's people on the other side of the border that have had to give up grazing and just go into cropping because of it. Their paddocks are no longer viable to use for grazing. I was talking to this Debbie from Landcare when I went to the Landcare meeting, and I suggested, whether it was a good suggestion or not, that when we do our road tour, that we try and incorporate a place where Arisia cactus is, so council can see what Arisia cactus actually is. I don't know if you've all seen it before, but it is a very nasty weed, and it has the potential to impact our shire significantly if it gets out of control. Funding ceases in June, as we know it, and I know there's a lot of lobbying going on at the moment to try and to maintain the funding. It's on our doorstep, and it's that on top of red ants and fire ants. I mean, we're on the doorstep to a lot of potential problems. Just an idea, if we do our road tour, if we can actually try and incorporate 5 or 10 minutes to have a look at a patch of Arisia cactus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I have a mover and a seconder to add that into the roads tour? Please, Councillor Sherman and Councillor Crump. Those in favour say aye. That concludes the ordinary agenda. Can I have a mover that we go out of this? Oh, do you want to have lunch before we go into confidential? Have lunch before we go into confidential. We'll come back from lunch and we'll go into confidential. Okay. Now we need to go into councillor reports before we go into confidential. So if we go around the room and start with Councillor Crump, have you got any?
Just a couple. I was contacted about the speed limit in front of the pool. Apparently it's 60, and I haven't actually been to have a look, but apparently it's 60 kilometres in front of the pool, but then around the other areas coming into Bingra, those being changed to 50. So there was a bit of a question as to why coming in from Copeton Dam Road wasn't changed down to 50 as well.
I'm happy to take that one on notice. That's speed limits are completely outside council's remit.
I think so.
And I think there are some pending changes in Bingra that are yet to come, but I don't think that's one of them.
Okay.
There's a few, it's not.
Because they move the 60 further out.
If they've moved the 60 further out, I'd say then that's the only action that's going to be taken, but I'll ask for the justification.
Okay. Because it's also in the main street. If you look one end, if you're going out Barrable Way, it becomes 60 quite close, still in town, like there's nothing consistent.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Can I just jump in because I had a traffic one? The Bavarian mum, I was really concerned about obviously trucks coming down there fairly fast. Wanted to know if they could somehow we could ask the RMS to get one of those smiley face radar things.
We've just bought one. We bought 2 of them actually.
You put there to shame people into slowing down. Well, it does make me think about it.
Yeah, it's a smiley face, and if you want to shame them.
You get that sad face if they don't.
We signed a purchase order for a set of those last week, so it might be 3 or 4 weeks before we have a functioning set, and we'd like to put them on our own construction jobs, not a state road, but I think we can accommodate that request.
That was all. Sorry, back to you, Sarah.
The other one was the flags coming into town for Australia Day celebrations.
I still,
They weren't put up.
oh,
Yeah.
I think the ones are already must
Oh, are they? One extreme, the other. So
maybe we got yours.
maybe. There were number of people that contacted me about no flags being up on the flag poles.
We don't have Australia Day flags in the entrance to town as far as the actual Australia Day flag.
That's what they were telling me. Yeah.
Yeah, we can't get them like an actual Australia flag.
No, not Australia flag. Did it say something about Australia Day? I don't recall.
I don't
seeing
think we
it,
ever had them.
but I was contacted by 3 different people.
Yeah.
And then there was a huge thread on Bingra Notice Board
We can
about.
get flags made up that say something about Australia. We have looked into getting actual flags, but because the way those flag poles are, the size of the flag to make them sit properly, you would need good wind for it to blow out because you can't hang them any other way than the correct way. And those are for banners that are long and skinny.
So, but the response is just that they don't exist.
I don't think they do at the moment, but we can certainly include that.
No, I think it was, they told me that they were up last year.
They weren't up last year.
Never had them.
No, and that's good, so they don't exist.
Never, ever had them.
Maybe they're.
George,
In Warrialda,
I'm sure.
So the Warrialda paid to put some up there, and that may have been Australia Day focused on it.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was Australia. It might have been also Rotary.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
sure it's Rotary on it.
Perhaps they've seen them at Warrialda and assumed that they'd be.
Yeah, I know, we saw the same thing last
We
year.
had flags up buildings last year, but not this year.
Now, there was one, the laundromat man put his own across the road.
There was quite a large thread on Facebook about it.
Yeah, I hung one in IJ because I did not want to be called woke.
Got a few. I went to a Corinda meeting, which was a long meeting. They've asked me to bring a few things back to council. They want clarification on their roof. Apparently they had a meeting in 2023 with Colin, for the roof being put in a budget for grants, in the budget to be replaced or grants being applied for. And they can't make any improvements until the roof is fixed, as it's got an extensive leak in the building. So they want to know if that has been put in the budget, and if not, are there grants we can apply for to try and get it done? Because they can't do anything until they have no water coming in. Leaks. That's one thing. And toilets have come up again with Corinda. They also believe they had a meeting 2 years ago with Colin and a few other people regarding the men's urinals to be fixed, the basement and the ladies' toilet to be fixed, the lights to be fixed. So there's no lights there. The men's urinals are still not working properly in the basement and ladies' toilet after their meeting a couple of years ago. And consideration for a baby change table. So the cafe has reopened in Warrialda, the Top Cafe. And while I had the meeting with them, they pointed out to me that the toilets are being used more than ever. I said, all righto. So we had a look, and during the meeting, I was there for an hour. I did a little tally. There were 7 people within the hour going to the toilets, which I assume were from the cafe. There were people I've never seen before. So tourists, I suppose, getting a feed. A couple did have babies or the young children. So it is getting a lot more use than it used to. Getting near the end of their request. A copy of the deed for the building, if possible. A photocopy of the deed for historical and members' interests. That's theirs.
What deed do they mean?
Deed for the
The title document.
must be, yeah. And also, actually, there is one other, sorry. Apparently now you have to do paperwork to run an event. Is that correct in Warrialda or wherever?
You have always had to.
So, well, they've only just started apparently. So they've done their first one and they said it's a long long document. And they're asking if they can just do it once and just amend the parts that need amending instead of having to do the document every time. They were talking about 20 pages, 22 pages. I don't know if that's right, but
I think it could even be more.
Yeah, it's the same with like everything we have, like Orange Festival, Honey Festival.
It's an insurance issue, but we are trying to modify that. What event did they run? No problem.
I think Christmas they had markets, Christmas markets or something.
They need to, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, they should only have to do it once and then cut and paste.
amend. That's Corinda. I think just a couple of others. The airport at Warrialda, there's a sign on the gate who to contact if someone wants to go in there. And apparently the only person's name and phone number is a local person by the name of Barry Power, who's in charge of the remote control aeroplane club. So he's getting phone calls from people to get access to the airstrip. So he's requesting that we put a Shire number and contact on there.
You can do that. We'll just put the Warrior on call number.
Instead of his.
You're a bit stupid, didn't you, when moved on? So to do out there with the fire brigade. In case, next I know I went up there once to meet Angel Flight and you couldn't get in the gate.
So at the moment it's batteries, but I'm sure that's a simple fix. This is from staff actually of Warrior of the Guada Council. If we put anything on Facebook in regards to issues, can we let the people at the front offices know what we've done, because they get phone calls not knowing what's being put on Facebook from the council. So they feel a bit silly if they haven't looked at Facebook and something's been put on there that we've announced, and then they get phone calls about it.
Isn't it great that our staff aren't on their phones during work hours?
It is. That's what I said. I take my hat off to you for not looking at Facebook. So that's an easy fix too, I'm sure. Just a miscommunication.
They have time to contact you.
I always drop in and say hello to them. I guess drop in and say hello. How are you going? Is there a tobacco shop opening in Warrialda to the knowledge of council? That's something I've had lots of people ask me. So, tobacco shop, one of these pop-up tobacco shops.
I thought they're illegal.
Well, they're in every town, but our town, we haven't got one yet.
They're not necessarily legal, what they sell may will be.
Yeah.
Moree's got heaps, Inverell's got heaps, Tamworth's got heaps. No one did.
Did they want one or?
No, they used to be concerned, that's all, but
This is terrible.
yeah. Anyway,
We certainly haven't got any application.
I just wondered if they had to apply to us to put one of those up.
Well, yeah, if it's a shop, they'd have to apply for a change of use, that's all. But I don't think we have any application.
Alright.
You'd see that coming.
The wooden fence next to the post office, that, I don't know if we constructed it in between the green space and the post office. I think it's been put up and it's already falling apart.
I've spoken with Darren at length about that fence, and there are palings we're going to remove and we're going to paint the side of it against the sun. That was the most recent agreement we've had, and he seems to be happy-ish about that.
Wasn't the post office that mentioned it there.
Right.
Just people walking past and noticing it, I suppose. And it's quite a Shire sign coming in from the Moree direction. It's been leaned over. It's been hit ages ago, and apparently it's been leaning over for a couple of months. Something's hit it.
Looking at you.
Not a good look coming into the Shire, they tell me.
Can we talk about that now, please?
What?
Sign.
Yes.
On the Moree side.
Leah and I have been looking at some designs and talking with our internal sign writer about redoing all of the Welcome to Guada Shire signs, because at the moment it's, Welcome to Guada Shire, some 14-year-old kid in 1996 designed our signs and we can't afford to replace them. And I think it's a really bad look. We've got some draft designs which we'll get ready to present perhaps to the next meeting. But we currently have funding we can pull from untied road budgets to replace all those signs, and there's going to be a little bit of money in it, but I think that for the reputational perception of the Shire, it's actually worth spending a little bit of money to say, welcome to Wider Shire and we're all right.
Is this the sign that's got plants around it? Is it?
No, yeah, they're a blue arch
Oh,
with welcome to Wider Shire.
The green there, you see them when you're going.
oh, this is right outdoors.
On the
On the
boundary
boundary.
limits.
Yeah.
I had a look at the one coming this way this morning, it's covered in mold. The Koala Park sign, that's another one they brought up, it's been hit by a car a few weeks ago and it's, I don't know if that's our sign or someone else's, but I had a look the other day when I left and it's obviously been hit by a
So
car.
what sign was that and where?
It's on the swimming pool side of the Koala Park. Something looks like it's deliberately ran into it.
Why don't these people let us know?
I don't know, so I just get these when I walk down the street or go and I or something.
People, know how to do it, how to make a complaint.
I suggest they go to the council office and do it that way or go online, but
If you're all over there, mate. Drop some rain off your mate.
bins along the river, they've been overflowing since Christmas. They need to be emptied. They could have been emptied since these people have told me. Go down having a picnic or something and the bins had in there that were there ages ago. And just the general town appearance apparently has declined and needs attention.
We're back on our street sweeping. We've now got a dedicated person in the street sweeper. That will be split between Finger and Warrior. But yes, the appearance has declined, but we have what I think is a good way forward.
And the last one, the vote of thanks. I just want to thank the council for the skin check opportunity. I went and took advantage of that, and I think it's a great initiative. The lady told me she's been coming here for a few years and doing it with staff. So hats off to you for doing that. I think it's a great initiative to do that. Thank you.
Rach.
I had a road issue.
Yep.
And I did, ask them to report it to council. I don't know whether that has been done or not. But for the Yarran Road,
Yes, has been reported, and we might have even had a great month.
excellent, yeah. So. Right, that's that one done. I know a lot of the different, with all the PFAS and the water restrictions and everything, there was a lot put on Facebook, and then initially there was a lot of letterbox drops. But a lot of people then didn't know about the water restrictions changing. It was on Facebook, but not letterbox dropped, I don't believe.
We did letterbox drop the changes to watering. I'm sure we did.
I've got a sprinkler one.
Like as in the alternate numbers and.
That was letterbox drop, wasn't it?
There may have been like, it went up one night and then it was letterbox next day.
I think I want to. Some people say, look, it's not on Facebook, so. Wanted to ensure that that was definitely in a box drop. There was an email about the Robber Creek drum muster cage back in December. Is that ever addressed?
They're one of the reports, man.
It was. I don't know that was the drum muster cage in the report though.
No.
I
There
think
was a pig that without a cage around it, so I think that's probably.
yeah, okay, great. And then, is anything happening in the Shire for International Women's Day next month?
No, do you want to? What would you like?
I just wanted to know one, if anything was happening. And do shoot request.
Well, actually, I'm sure you're aware, every week is International Something Week or Day, or every week we don't celebrate them. I mean, we're too busy doing Dog Week and every other.
Women are important in that.
I'll put it up on my notes now, that's up my job.
My mother was a woman. Well, eventually. So we keep up this, Chris.
Anything to do.
Oh, it's seriously, what would you like to do? There is a, there is a conference.
You can go to Canberra.
Yeah, it's a conference.
I'm invited to go to that. Yeah. Sydney or Sydney. sorry.
Yeah.
We also we quite often do nominate with the Office of Local Government, someone to be nominated during that International Women's Week, but we haven't actually nominated anyone this year, but we have in the past.
While we're on that subject, did any of you ladies remember when we went to that local government attendance? And they said there was something coming up in Orange for us to go to?
Yes. It was May.
Yeah, but none of us can find it. We've all
Moved to Griffith.
It's
It's got to be the one in Griffith because that's the elder women's thing and it's in May, but it's in Griffith, not
okay, because they did tell us Orange, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the men's one's in orange.
At the same time. It was the elder one.
Sorry,
Yeah.
think of the argument of why we should have International Women's Day. Because it just falls off their heads.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all. Thanks, Rach. Mash.
Yeah, there's a couple of pavers in the football. I only noticed them on Monday. Right outside the cameras, they're starting to pop up. And they're pretty dangerous if you trip on like an old girl like me.
Outside the chemist, did you say?
Yes, and just down in front of Georgie's. I was going to walk and have a look to see how many more, but I didn't do it. That's looking into. And I went to the museum meeting the other day, and there was a woman from Canberra there for the military, and she was really impressed with the military at the museum. She said, I've never seen one as good, not talking about Canberra too.
Oh, it's good.
So they're going to come up and do a documentary on it. That's good. And Bombelli.
Well, it's chestnut.
Cunningham Street. Apparently they'd been down and swept all the gravel off the side of the road and now it's dirt and they're complaining about the dust right on the corner. I said, get out and put some bloody
Need the Bomb Belly backstroker back.
Yeah, I said, put some water on it. And
Is that my friend?
no, not your friend. No, it wasn't him.
Blood.
Supposed to be my best friend, but anyhow, it pisses me off.
And recording issues.
Robinson that lives in Wyden Terrace said she'd like to congratulate the workers that when we had the storm, how quick they were to go down and get rid of all the rubbish and that. And she said, can you please pass that on? She said it was very good. I did have potholes, but before I come over looking, they've done them all, so I couldn't complain about that.
You shouldn't have seen them though. You could have complained and then been told they were done.
Yeah, you know, I thought, no, I'm not bringing that up. I'm saying all that. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I've got.
Thanks, Mash. Scott.
Just same from Matthew, a lot of people commenting how quick the cleanup happened after that big storm, positive comments, so big thank yous. From the showground users committee meeting, just had a query from a couple of people about public use of the showground and why people don't have access to it like they do the skate park and the football oval, that sort of thing. They were going to write letters, but we also said that we'd bring it up today. So like
That's what you were talking about this morning. Mash.
like I was just saying, for example, why can someone go down the football field and kick a football while people can't go to the showground and ride a horse?
As Robert said, they can go there and ride horses, but they're not allowed on the racetrack. Because if the racetrack gets torn up, the New South Wales Race Association can come in and cancel the race.
And they can't, they can do everything they can to stop races.
You've got grids, so you have to go in with a horse float. That's the thing, isn't it? Like you can go in, but you've got to direct take horse float, you just can't go over the grids. Because the grids are the only way in.
No, that's not the only way, yeah. So-
No, there's a gate near it.
It's not a gate. It's the fact that going on the racetrack.
Is that what they want to do? They want to race on the racetrack?
No, just getting
just
into the
wanna go-
fairground, because all the gates are
They
locked.
can do that.
Yeah, just all the
But
gates
all
are
the
locked.
to do that.
They can't go on the racetrack. Yeah.
They just want clarification on why.
On the racetrack.
No, just the race, like the showground in general, because all the gates are locked, so you can't get in through the gate.
Yeah, that's what I was told. Except, yeah, the grids.
They can't. So-
They said there is a phone number there, but no one answers it.
Don't put that one on the airstrip at Warrior.
That promises.
I just thought it was the racetrack.
And there is signs over at the skate park to say that is the responsibility of the person using the skate park.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the council. I've never known a skate park to be fenced in yet with a fence around it.
They use that as an example.
Yeah. As an example for the insurance.
So are they allowed to?
Which user group I was concerned about? Yeah, I don't want names, just the user group. Only for
Just private use of the showground.
Well, I'm seriously unsure why they can't get access.
And so the gates are all locked, so they can't just ride a horse in.
They can't actually just ride their horse.
Ride their horse.
So that's probably what they do.
Yeah, I don't know why they're carrying
Lots
the
of games to show.
That's something new, I think,
Yeah.
that the gates have been locked.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But
Have they got cattle in there at the moment? Or?
No.
Up in the cross country area. They
No,
were,
they're
they were
actually-
going to, they're up in paddock.
yeah, they're out here somewhere.
Okay, no, I'll check that out with Andrew, yeah.
There was another, I want to know why the Shire wasn't mowing everywhere, but anyhow, that's been sorted. But I feel sorry for Robin because she was getting attacked and she didn't know anything because Coop wasn't there. And they,
Are they new committee members?
no. And yeah, they wanted it all mowed. And they explained no. So I found out since they're going to mow around the canteen, both sides and the public toilets, but all the other has to be done by the user group.
That's exactly right, that's always been the case.
Yeah,
That was explained to them.
yeah, that was the main complaint. Yeah, so the other's already been done. Yeah.
So do we unlock a gate? Is that
Well,
how we
I'll
fix it?
find out why the gate's locked.
Yeah.
Well,
And maybe
it's quite possible that there's been some looting in there or something that we're not aware of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember one part of it, Coop was going to put a gate across the ramp. Just like, if people were just going down there and driving round and round. But that never come.
maybe we can put something up, please don't, even if the race committee have to do it, please don't ride on the racetrack. And that is only to stop.
That's the only reason.
Because even with the dogs walking on it in the rain,
Yeah.
New South Wales has going to use every excuse to stop this country race. That's right.
Oh, then they wanted to know whether the council would lend them some mowers
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to see if they can borrow mowers, those,
That'd be okay.
we don't know, you'll have to find out.
I think we can probably do what we do with water carts and say we're happy to lend the mower size. Council operators.
No, you'd use a slasher on it, you wouldn't use a 0-turn mower.
Just around the buildings.
Well, I don't have to now, the council can do around the building. But haven't they got a slasher down there?
It's a tractor.
That's what I thought. They've got one down there.
It belongs to the user group, doesn't it?
That's right. So we told them to write a letter.
You give them some liquid periods before. Believe me, it's normally a nice little group. You go on.
Any more school?
No,
Yeah, I had one more now. It was the toilets at the Horton. They just contacted me and said that the Horton Club got a grant a few years back for council very kindly took over and placed a demountable toilet block. Short of it is the toilet's rubbish, damaged when it turned up and not fit for purpose. Just want to get the ball rolling and see if we can get something sorted out. Apparently Andrew Cooper has the complaints, but it's been there and the motorbike user groups and don't want to use it, but it's not serviceable.
Is that the new one? The new,
Well, it was
Tennis courts or over in the showground?
no, I think it's near the tennis courts.
that's only new. That was only put there.
We sit there on our southern bus.
Yeah.
Is it working?
I didn't use it.
Well, I'm not sure. There's a ramp up to it and all that he said, but it's not serviceable and suggested someone should meet out there with Lindsay Hagan or someone if they're not aware of the problems. But you'd say that Andrew Cooper was.
I'll chase it up with Andrew.
Well, it depends where it is because it's not on our land. It's theirs. It's the rodeo showground. If it's open, that's their responsibility, not ours. They should fix it.
So there's no council area out there, is what you're saying?
No, we actually don't. It's either the sporting club or the other side. But we've provided now 3 toilets there. I think one at the caravan park, or what they wanted to set up the caravan park,
And
and
then
2 on the showground.
Yeah, we got the one last year that was connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's the one that was only just recently connected, that's a bit poor show.
Yeah, well,
Did you say it was damaged when it was arrived?
that's what he also said, yeah.
No, it wasn't.
But I don't know which one it was, so I couldn't tell you. I'd have to go back and check.
I just got a text from Andrew regarding the showground gates. He says all the gates are locked, but the access ramp is open. There was a members meeting on Tuesday referring to some members wanted free range access like Wider Oval. User groups have free access. It's the anybody's that go there without permission that is an insurance risk.
well, just a question like that was about, was it insurance risk?
Yeah.
It was a bill, I suppose, if they sign a waiver. The trouble is, if someone's under our limit, the waiver isn't with it, right?
The waiver's not worth the bit of paper it's written on, is
So what's the difference between going to Wider Oval and kicking a football and going to the showground then?
Oh,
They're on a horse.
they're on a horse to start with, which increases the.
Skateboard and skate.
risk.
You just need to have what you said is at the skate park.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
which is up at the Statue Park.
Yeah, but can you put one of those at the race course, the showground?
But I want to talk to Andrew more about, was this would have been a decision by the committee, I would say, at some time in the past. It sounds like
It was too, because there was people just going down there and keeping horses down there, but they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
They were local.
And there was a guy who was used the racetrack as well for.
Yeah.
Causing a problem. But I'll investigate it. Anyway. The whole toilets I'll certainly have a look at as well, but It is their toilets.
Well, I'm not sure. I got the impression it'd been there for a couple of years.
Andrew's unaware of any problems with the toilets.
Can I say that the committee out there have just asked us if we'll put about $30,000 to help them out re-sand their area as well.
No.
No, right, yeah.
Use we provide the truck to spread the sand to cover.
So maybe they need to get their act together on the kickers. Don't ask us for help.
I don't think they were kicking here. That was more about what was sent. That was the sentiment, like from the manufacturer. I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of it.
Any more, John?
Oh,
Okay, Sean.
I think Alex might have answered before the Copper Creek and Warrior Road, Skate Park, Causeway, Alex, that we're talking about.
Yes.
So that's what you're still waiting on. Yeah. It keeps coming up. The Copper Creek School has lost, primary school, they've lost their bus run out there. And it's probably really got nothing to do with us, but I think the Bellmans are thinking of getting their own bus, buying their own bus and using it through the P&C that way. It's the only way they're going to get.
Yeah, we've been talking to them about whether we can get a better price for it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's,
The principal sent me a message about it.
yeah. And I think someone else, the North Star Copper Creek Road, again the other day, Alex, you did answer that to me, like within 3 months, wasn't it, I think?
Comfortably.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And the Coolatide tip, I think, I haven't been there, so it may have been cleaned up, but the fire's nearly gone out. Right.
Small green. I read it.
Yeah, I think I've read something. Anyway, someone, I haven't been there to see it, so I don't visited it for a little while. That was just the other question, whether it had been pushed in again, tidied up a little bit.
It's a bit of a tricky situation, isn't it? These chips that are all getting filled, and where do you go to next? Like when you're reading these ones that,
Especially half the rubbish that ends up in Coolatide is probably,
not from Coolatide.
it's out of state.
Yeah. It's a bit scary, isn't it? Where do we? Rubbish chip.
Yeah, it's very convenient for whoever. Yes, is it?
Yeah. Any more questions?
I almost at this one, actually. An email about mobility parking in Bingra. There was one at Hack. And every time this lady has emailed or called council, she's been told that it's been planned, but she's not sure where it's up to.
Happy to chase it up.
There's a disability or a.
She also says, please put one in Maitland Street close to the supermarket.
This lady part of our disability access committee.
I have no idea.
We've got a meeting on Thursday, disability access meeting, and where for as long as I've known, we've been trying to get a disabled car park at the front of IGA and the post office, but because it comes under RMS, it becomes quite difficult. We've got the one or the two at the front of the Hack office.
Yeah, there's two there.
There's two at the front of the Hack office.
Wasn't it the Hack office that we were just talking about?
Yeah, she says there is one what was Hack. Every time I have asked about parking, I have been told that it has been planned, but not sure where it should be. Please, there are many people who would appreciate this. I, for one, have actually fallen over stepping down from the gutter.
It might be more about the and the park itself.
Yeah.
The curb.
Yeah, she says, I would like to read the lack of.
There is two
Yeah.
people.
Council. And also, please put one in Maitland Street close to the supermarket.
Yeah, we're trying to get one there, but that is.
Had somebody not consulted you about the prospect of putting one on the northern side of the business in Cunningham Street?
Yes.
Yes?
I thought I'm going to put one there in the little corner here.
Yeah. I'll chase both of those up.
I know they've come up for a long time, but the whole approval has to come from RMS for the actual parking. And then the gutters have to, that's a major thing to can see your point, because we've been trying to get one for ages at the front of IBM. I think they want one out the front of the post office too, but they're very rarely. There's usually lots of parks at the front.
Yeah. Well, she does say that she's fallen over stepping down from the gutter. I guess it is quite a step, isn't it? So. Sorry, that was it for me.
Right. Can I question about what Councillor Coleman was talking about, the tie tip? The tips are a big concern, especially the unmanned one. Fires in tips, the UPA take a really deep view. We've got to report them each time there's a fire. If the community don't respect the tips, they'll lose them. That's the bottom line. One of the things I've asked Saul to look at is whether we can actually fence all our tips and have them manned, but only for a couple of days a week. So we would be reducing the amount of availability, but extending their life, because if we can continue to operate the way we are, the EPA will simply say no unmanned tips. That's it. So I mean, that'll be a report that will eventually make its way up to the council. It might start thinking about that, because it's a privilege that some people in the community are abusing. And I, for one, love the fact I don't have to pay to go to the tip. Over at Mid Coast, every time I go to ship, it's a minimum of $30.
And people don't realise that when they're whinging about their rates, they don't realise that you actually get free access to the swimming pools, free access to the rubbish tips, all that sort of thing, whereas everywhere else you have to. Even in Tamworth, they said, I had someone saying the other day it was $30 for a small thing to go to the Tamworth tip. And then Barraba tips only open
It's
20
years, yeah.
3 afternoons a week or something, and
But you've got to pay too, there, right?
yeah.
I really think we should try and avoid that, but whatever we need to do to try and keep them open, use it properly or lose it, I don't know. Something like that.
I mean, what we're trials at Gravesend and and we don't have probably on the rail with the numbers. There's a couple of issues. One is people were handing out the numbers to other people, and so they were accompanying asbestos and stuff like that, with their and tyres. But I think we've sort of got on top of that, especially with the use of cameras. We've caught some people.
We're having a lot of trouble. How's it going out there?
Yeah, well, there was a meeting earlier this week, I think, where we're starting to have the putting in the fence and the key fob and all that sort of stuff, and talking to people about that. There's also very untidy people. They don't know, well, a lot of them don't know how to use a trailer. So they drive in and just dump it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. But it's just a general lack of respect, actually, which is just an unfortunate reflection of communities now.
Already does the fencing. The villages, when I lived at Boomai, they came out every Sunday, I think it was, on Tuesday. And it was fenced, and a Shire person was there for 2 hours. Yeah.
I think that would work quite reasonably, because, if we made it, it'd also offer employment to local people. Well, don't you just be there.
And you've got 2 hours at a long time for the place.
They did a lot of fence patching, I'll put it that way, but they did have that way. That's how they did it.
This might amuse you. I don't know if you're interested in this sort of stuff, but John Colton used to go out and check the line at the fence. Boy, if there was not been a alignment, we never had the end.
Yeah, right.
Is
Yes.
everyone finished? Okay, so. So can I have a mover and a seconder for the council reports, please? Councillor Crump and Councillor Sherman. And I'd like to a mover to say we go out of ordinary council meeting into confidential. Councillor Crump and Councillor Christopher. Please.